There are a lot of dangerous people out there right now who are looking around wondering, are you effing with our money supply? Is something bad coming around the bend? I don't know. Maybe it is. There is another interesting take that somebody decided to have regarding not just Candace Owens, but the collapsing Turning Point USA. Could you believe it's one of Rabbi Shmuley's children? Now, I don't know which of the 9 kids this one is, but a very privileged child had this to say about Charlie Kirk.
Main person responsible besides Candace Owens for what Candace Owens is doing to Turning Point USA, the way she's harassing the people who work there. She's tearing the organization apart. She is accusing the leadership there of murder. Millions of people in America now believe it because they follow her. The person responsible is Charlie.
Really? So now Charlie's responsible for his own death, coming from a psychopathic Zio scum, privileged child, because that's what you are. You're a child. Yeah, apparently this might be the dildo girl. Okay. No, I wouldn't, AB. And a lunatic at that, without question.
This was his fatal flaw in his lifetime. I loved and love Charlie. I listened to him every single day of my life, basically, his biggest fan. And I always knew his fatal flaw was that he never called Candace Owens out by name. He knew what she was doing. He knew that she was making conspiracy theories about a lot of people, but specifically Jews. Turning Point USA hosted her at an event last year, the year before that, and the year before that, after she had told the public things like, there is a ring of Jewish pedophiles that run Hollywood that send children around the world to be molested by adults.
There are pedophilia rings around the world. Are you fucking stupid? And there are plenty of them in Israel. And you know that. If you're done playing with your sex toys, maybe you would know that. Jen, I can only get so close, but can you make out what that name is on that in Hebrew that she wears around her neck? They make it so easy to be hated. They really do. Such pathetic people. Yeah, perhaps it's her name. Just call her Dildo Freak. That's a good one.
He knew that she was saying things like there are Jews in the world who drink the blood of Christians on Passover. And he not only never called her out, and by the way, you can still be friends with someone and publicly say this is wrong. He never did that, but more than that, he continued to host her at Turning Point USA. And this is something the non-Jewish world sometimes doesn't understand. And yes, Charlie was the greatest friend to Jews and Israel because he believed in the truth. But sometimes they don't understand that when there is evil, something like Candace Owens, the evil that she was doing to Jews, creating conspiracy theories about us, slandering us, just making things up and accusing us, they don't understand.
Now, I don't know if you know anything about psychoanalysis, but this girl cannot look directly into the camera when she says certain things because she's lying and she has to think about what she's saying. No. The slandering is just truth-telling that you don't like. And the fact that Shmuley is your father. The apple really doesn't fall far from the tree. I'll give him this much credit, and this is not saying much about you, mind you. Well, you probably look a lot more like your mother than you do your father. That's probably the nicest thing I could say. No, Charlie Kirk clearly was changing his opinion as well as his business maneuverings regarding Israel. He was warned not to do it. He was doing it anyway, and now he's not here anymore. It's pretty cut and dry, as far as I can see. Anybody else want to chime in and share their thoughts on that? I don't think I'm wrong. But the level of projection that comes from these Zios is very telling. And they also like to drop hints, as if to say, Charlie got killed because of Charlie. They're not very subtle. Not even a little bit.
And that they're next. They think it stops with Jews, so you don't have to call it out because it's not such a big deal. You can see in Charlie's life, he didn't call her out. And in his death, she's plaguing him. She's destroying everything. She's destroying the people he loved most in the world, the people he trusted the most in the world. It's the ugly truth. When you don't stop the evil immediately, call it out, say it's wrong, that evil will eventually come to you too. And that's what we're seeing now.
That's why we're trying to stop you. That is why you're crashing out, just like Tim crashed out, like a lot of others are crashing out, because you messed with the wrong people. You finally messed with somebody who was going to fight back with a platform that you couldn't just make go away. That's what's happening. And that's why they're reacting this way. And as a result, what you're finding is that there are people that are finding their courage now. Some people have to be at a certain place where they feel that they can come out from the shadows, knowing that there's still a lot of risk involved, but that there's enough people that have their back so that it is appropriate for them to say what needs to be said. Now, I don't know this gentleman, and I believe his name is Josh, but apparently he used to work for Turning Point USA, and he decided to spill the beans regarding Charlie Kirk.
My name is Joshua Peterson. I worked for Turning Point USA and Turning Point USA Faith, and I knew Charlie Kirk personally. I want to say on the record that there was a inner circle at Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and his interests and what he wanted to do, as well as there was a Jewish influence in Turning Point that he was not very fond of.
Well, now I wonder if that Jewish influence was little spoiled brat child of Shmuley. No, you never know. I mean, with the way they operate, anything's possible. But this is Joshua Peterson, somebody who worked for Turning Point USA and had a relationship with Charlie Kirk, was well aware of what his business moves were intended to be, and perhaps what some others were trying to make them be.
That he wanted to get rid of. He tried doing this, he tried creating a Doge department, and he gets assassinated. Another thing that makes me believe this inner circle was constantly working against Charlie was because of the fact that he had a whole entire branch of Turning Point that he had no idea about, and that was the stock market branch. Now, the thing about this branch is it's been getting millions of dollars poured into it over the past 4 years now, and that's been seen through their latest tax returns, which were also filed late, which was weird, but that's not a topic for another time. This stock market group that Turning Point has been throwing millions of dollars into the stock market for the past 4 years now, and Charlie Kirk had no knowledge of that whatsoever.
You know, they say that the inmates are running the asylum. This is what ultimately ends up happening with an organization. And as I've pointed out on this channel, I went to a Turning Point USA event. I didn't pay to go to it, but I went to the promenade of a Turning Point USA event because I just happened to be in Tampa at the same time that they were hosting one. Let me tell you something. There is a lot of money that goes into these events. A lot. Millions of dollars. The average person is not funding an organization like Turning Point. It is of the wealth class, the power class, the people who really make decisions. That's who does this. At the time, Charlie was one hell of a Trojan horse. He sold his organization well. As I have said it before, I'll say it again. He's the best grifter I've ever seen. He did a hell of a job. Don't hate the player, hate the game. But he played it well, very well. And now, because of the fact that the Zio billionaires that funded the organization didn't like the direction that Charlie was going in, they said, well, we'll get rid of him. We'll figure it out as we go forward. We're not really going to overthink this. We can't have somebody questioning the state of Israel, of which we rely heavily on the voting bloc to make sure that it stays exactly as it is. Even in the face of a genocide, didn't matter. But they made their move. So when Charlie thought he was running this organization, he really wasn't. he found out the hard way that so much of what he was attempting to do with the organization was not under his control. It has been suggested that he had full intentions of doing an audit of TPUSA, hence the Doge reference that Candace has brought up. Again, can't verify it, but the most logical explanation is often the correct one. And in this case, knowing full well how that organization was maneuvering, people get killed for a lot less money than what Charlie was dealing with. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a lot of money. Not a little money, life-changing money, serious money. And the money is only one part of it. Then there's the power that comes with it. The millions upon millions of votes. It has been suggested that Charlie Kirk, more than anyone else, was responsible for Trump winning in 24 because of the youth vote that came out for him. You know what? There's probably a good kernel of truth to that. Josh has a little more to say.
Now, if you also look into it a little bit deeper, if you look at the staff on that branch specifically, it says 0. It says there's nobody employed in that branch, yet they're pouring $5 million into funds for employees. Make it make sense. That sounds like money laundering to me. It sounds like there's some pyramid scheme going on behind the scenes at Turning Point that Charlie did not know about originally, and I think that he was planning to expose that, and that's ultimately what got him killed.
It's one way of looking at it, and one way that I don't think is out of bounds. But you know what I do know, ladies and gentlemen? And I'd like to think that all of us can universally agree on this point. I think, I could be wrong, but the one point that I think we can all universally agree upon, whatever the State Department is selling about Tyler Robinson, believe the opposite. That's it. I am very clear about that. Extremely clear. So if you're going along with that narrative, then you're not willing to go where you need to go. We are living in a revolutionary period right now. You will not put a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. You have to rip it off. I couldn't have imagined that the sacrifice of Charlie would lead us to where now people are really waking up to the reality of what's going on. But hey, I am grateful. And if Candace is going to carry that water to make sure that the truth sets us all free, then kudos to Josh, perhaps because of Candace's courage, that he ultimately had the same courage within himself to come out and say what he needed to say.